Yo, what's good, everybody? King Drago Sancho 17. It has been a while since I last uploaded, which was last month, but now I'm back. And because I've been so far behind on the uploading, with the FIFA World Cup coming and the busy with other stuff, work and football. So, I am back and this has been an insane FIFA World Cup this year. A lot of surprises which you never expect to see. So today we're gonna go through all of these matches, and by matches I mean the final standings and the knockout stage and what I think will happen. So another reaction. We'll see how this goes. So let's get on with it. Also, I would like to point out this is going to be there's gonna probably be a little bit of rants and personal opinions, so there's gonna be some salty fans here. So if you don't like this video, I say turn it off. Let's get on with it. Starting off in Group A, where only two teams are going through. We got Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czech Republic. So, in an unexpected twist here, which no one expected, well, Mexico got a pretty easy, I want to say, okay, yeah, they got an easy group. So they have climbed themselves, winning 3 consecutive rounds in their group, so they automatically go through to the next round after winning 2 in a row. Now, this one was a bit of a surprise here. South Africa, despite losing the first match to Mexico, but they tied and won once, so they climbed themselves into the podium. So they joined Mexico to the next round. Even though my predictions were a little off here, unfortunately South Korea have been eliminated in Czech Republic. So that's gonna hurt for both of them, including especially for Human Son, who plays for South Korea. It's probably his official last World Cup and probably not see him again. So at ease, and thank you for what you've done for them. I don't know if I should feel bad for Korea. Well, depends if you've seen their past and their history. And we're not even going to talk about the 2002 World Cup. All right, next up. Oh, pardon me. Got a freaking hair in my mouth. Anyways, moving on to Group B. Now, this, I actually did not expect this to be, I honestly thought it was going to be the group of death to begin with. But what did you know? It turned out to be a surprise. Sorry again. Now, in this round, I did say in my reaction video last time, I said that only the 2 top teams were going to go through, but I was wrong. Only a few groups will allow a third team to go through because there's only, well, there would have been 24 teams going through, so they need another 8 more teams to go through to the next round with them. So in this group, for Group B, there's 3 teams that are going through. So I was right about Switzerland placing first. Now between Canada, I was going to say they were placing third or second, becoming the underdogs, which they actually did. And Bosnia coming in third, which who would have thought? I mean, both Canada and Bosnia are tied for 4 points. And let's talk about Canada here. They becoming the underdogs, and as myself as a Canadian, they at first when they tied, they honestly could have beaten Bosnia, but if it wasn't for the two goal scoring opportunities and Kyle Larin's first goal, which he secured for them in the first round. But then this is where it changed in Qatar. Oh boy. First 2 goals, very good start for Canada. They're looking like, okay, they're going to do well. But then everything changed for Qatar when they got a red card the first time, which really went downhill. My personal opinion, penalty, but they chose a free kick. But then it was 3-0 in the first half. Second half is where everything changes. They got another goal, and my condolences to Ismail Kone, who got a broken leg. Like, it was bad, the poor guy. But everyone will pay their tributes, and now Canadian fans hope this guy gets well soon, even though his World Cup season is over. and hopefully Canada makes it a little further. However, a very good moment there. The substitute, Nate Saliba, scores an incredible free kick, pays a tribute to him. Just wonderful. Respect. And then Jonathan David, who is the first and only Canadian to get a hat trick for Canada and secure a spot for, well, first before Switzerland swooped in. I wouldn't say swoop in, but just before they get a win. But other than that, Canada played very well against Qatar. They played together as a team. They worked together. Much respect for them. And then Switzerland, well, they beat Qatar. Well, actually, they didn't, because they tied with them and they beat Bosnia. I was thinking of Canada for a sec, but yeah. And then they beat Canada just by 2-1. They did put up a good fight, but they clinched themselves to the top spot. So there it is. I guess I was right about the first prediction, Switzerland coming in first, but then the second and third, it was between Canada and Bosnia. So they still made it through. My prediction still stands. Next group. And here we are in Group C, and only 2 teams are going through to the next round. So, Brazil and Morocco, Scotland and Haiti. Okay, to be honest, I knew Haiti was not going to make it past this group because they got some tough opponents. Now, when I first watched the Brazil and Morocco game, probably one of the worst matches I've ever watched. How can Brazil let Morocco take 21 shots? Half of them were on target, and then the others they couldn't finish. And Brazil, their passing was terrible, possession was bad. Like, this is not the Brazil that we all thought it was going to be, but none of them are from the favelas. They just picked them off the streets and just played like shit. However, Vinicius, who actually put up a show at the for the goal that they scored, the only goal, to tie with Morocco. I mean, it was a great goal. I gotta give him that. But then, ultimate victory goal to Morocco. Played a nice ball. There is no way that the keeper or defenders were stopping that. Alisson couldn't even stop that. And then it was a great goal for Morocco. He even got the player of the match that day. But anyways, on to the rest. And then Scotland and Haiti ended up, well, they both end up losing. And Brazil and Morocco, as I mentioned, I knew they were going to place the top 2, but just didn't know who was going to win the top spot. But Brazil won by goal differentials, as it looks like. So they still pulled off what they could. And Scotland, I mean, they tried, but couldn't beat Brazil or Morocco. They tried. All right, next group. Oh boy, I ain't happy about this one for Group D. To all you American fans out there, or to those who hate America, buckle up. So, USA, they smoked the fuck out of Paraguay 4-1 in the first match. Like, god damn, that was bad. And if you think that was bad, Turkey couldn't beat Australia that time. So I honestly thought Turkey was going to climb up to the top, but I was wrong. It looks like, I think I said that Turkey was going to place first, and then I didn't really care for the rest of them, but not realizing that there was 3 teams that were going through. However, the next match, Turkey went up against Uruguay. It was so embarrassing for them. Took so many shots and they still couldn't get a target in. And they were eliminated straight up. Just 2 games, 2 losses, and they were out like that. But until they defeated USA 3-2, but it just wasn't enough for them to win the other games, but they should have. So it looks like USA, Australia, and Paraguay are going through, but the question is, will their path be easy? Probably not. Next group. Here we have Group B, Germany, Costa Ivory, and Ecuador, and I don't think it's Curacao, but I think somebody told me this. It's Curacao. If I get the name right, just comment down in the comment section. If I get it wrong, then just let me know, because I still don't know how to say this team's names, and I kind of felt bad. But anyways, getting sidetracked here. So Germany, Costa Ivory, and Ecuador. Between these two, Germany smoked the fuck out of Curacao, and boy, the 7-1 victory, we don't want to talk about that because it gives us deja vu vibes, especially if you're a Brazilian fan. And it depends if I like Germany or not. But I knew they were going to top off the group. Between Costa Ivory, they gave him an actual fight. Like, they gave him a good round. They were close. Like, Costa Ivory was close to beating Germany, but it ended up in a 2-1. Even though Costa Ivory defeated Ecuador. But who would have thought that Ecuador was the only team to defeat Germany in that group? I honestly thought that Germany was going to be undefeated in that group and make their way through, but even I was wrong. A lot of surprises in the World Cup. Who would have thought? And it turns out that both Germany and Costa Ivory are tied for first and second, but the goal differential stands and Germany's in first, which means they have a higher advantage. All right, moving on to the next group. And kind of feel sorry for Curacao for not being able to win, but that they got too many strong teams there, so we apologize. Group F. Once again, 3 teams are going through, but my prediction for the first one for Group B, I was right about Germany topping it up, and I did say Costa Ivory was second, and Ecuador. I did say they were going to get eliminated, but I guess not, because once again, only a certain amount of groups will allow 3 teams to go through. So, in Group F, oh boy, Netherlands, well, they had a pretty good run, winning 2 games, drawing 1 match. Gotta respect that. They did a pretty good run. They smoked Tunisia 5-1. They smoked Sweden 5-1. But then they tied against Japan on their first match, which was unexpected. So Japan had managed to place second. Honestly thought Netherlands and Sweden were going to be first and second, and Japan eliminated with Tunisia, but my predictions kind of still stands there, even though Sweden's in third. I mean, they lost once, they tied once, and they won a match. So I guess that's a pass for them. They make their way through. The Netherlands tops up, so gotta give them credit for that. And they do look pretty strong too. I gotta say, Netherlands has a pretty decent team. But how long and how far will they make it? Let's find out. Next group. Okay, once again, another 3 teams are going through. I only said that Belgium was going to go through because of how, I mean, the group, it's a bit meh. I think I said Egypt would go through. I think I said Iran was going to place last, but boy, was I wrong. They ended up drawing 3 times. And not to mention Belgium, they had a terrible run. Oh my god, the first round, I think they tied against Egypt, or was it New Zealand? I'm trying to remember, but I might have forgotten. But Belgium, when they tied against Iran, it was terrible, man. Like, absolutely disgusting. Like, how did they play so bad? Even Zlatan said it himself. He's like, I went to sleep for the second match. He wasn't wrong, though, because the second half was terrible. Iran almost won, but the offside goal is what really stopped them. But other than that, New Zealand was, I don't think they were really that good in that round. I didn't really care, but they got eliminated. In Egypt, they're still alive, so, I mean, they were kind of forgettable for a moment after beating New Zealand and Iran, tying all 3 matches here. Big surprise. And speaking of big surprises, Group H, I'm not going to let this one go here because only 2 teams are going through. I said Spain and Uruguay were going through. But boy, was I wrong here. Okay, I was right about Spain going through, being number 1. But the fact that they couldn't beat Capo Verde the first time and they tied 0-0, that was embarrassing. How did Spain not beat them? Well, I'll tell you what, Cabo Verde, after coming from a small island, and they have a 40-year-old keeper who actually really kicked ass, and I'm impressed from how he did though. That man has really saved the team a lot, and for them, they seem like a pretty decent team. Like, they know how to work together, they play well, so I gotta give them that. But it's nothing what's gonna happen later on, all foreshadowing. As I mentioned, I kind of took the piss on them, and Capo Verde were gonna be eliminated on the dot. But they ended up not winning, not losing, but tying 3 times, just like Iran. That's crazy. Now, Uruguay, I do feel sorry for them, even though Luis Suarez ain't there anymore. But the team is just bad. I still don't understand how they managed to tie with Capo Verde, and same with Saudi Arabia. But they couldn't beat Spain. Well, because once again, what can you do against Spain at that point? Spain smoked the shit out of Saudi Arabia. And then Uruguay just could not beat Saudi Arabia. Not even Capo Verde, even though they had 2 goals at the time, but just, it was bad. So I gotta say, congratulations to Capo Verde for making it through to that group and actually pulling off a surprise. I think they might be the big surprise, but we'll see what happens later on. Next group. After the group H, we are moving on to Group I, and I honestly think this was pretty valid there. I did say Iraq was going to get eliminated, because look at the teams they're facing there. They had no chance. But I was right about Senegal placing 3rd, and I thought they'd be eliminated, but they're still in it. Now, France and Norway. Let's start with France versus Senegal. First half was boring. So, like, France played like shit. We all thinking, oh, they're going to lose, or they're just going to tie. That is until Mbappe pulled up 2 goals for France to start off with. First goal, okay, well, he got a pretty good pass. We got to give him that, even though he tried to get a penalty. And then the second goal, great ball, and then Barcola scores. And then the last goal, Mbappe just blasts that in and goes, and that's going to wrap it up for him. 2 goals for him. And then we have Norway, Holland, having 2 goals against Iraq in the first match for them. And what do you know? Seems like Norway is really also a surprise team. And then, of course, once again, France and Iraq, which Iraq had no chance against France, so it was pretty unanimous that they were going to win. And then Norway and Senegal was a pretty good match there. Norway also, once again, Holland scores, and then we have Mbappe who scores again. They both goal. Oh, and then France, Norway, we were all waiting for, but it turned out to be a shit show. Holland didn't even play that game, but yet France had all their superstars and just completely demolished them. 4-1, especially Dembele getting a hat-trick against Norway. So what a twist. That was not the kind of match I was hoping for. I was hoping for an Mbappe versus Holland for the nations, but I guess not. All right, on to the next group, which would be Group J. Group J, okay. I knew that Jordan was going to be eliminated. I mean, the team is not really that big, but I kind of felt a little bad for them. Starting off with Argentina, Algeria. Messi scoring a hat-trick. His first ever World Cup hat-trick, first game, just wonderful. Like, even I was happy for myself, and when I saw it, then everyone's going crazy. But then, of course, there's the backlash where people say that Messi should have been sent off. So, it's a problem when motherfuckers say that Messi deserved a red card and the hat-trick would have never counted if that foul VAR was checked after the studs on the leg. Yeah, when you have your studs on someone's body part, yeah, you're going to get in trouble. Either a warning with the yellow, but mostly it's a straight red. But what about the other times when other players have done it and they got away with it? So why is it just Messi? So nobody wants to answer that, because Portugal fans and Ronaldo fans are too scared to answer because they don't want to fucking admit defeat, and which is why you guys are all a bunch of fucking losers. You always lose in arguments. There's nothing you can do. And then Argentina-Austria match, when Messi missed a penalty, and then of course we have I Shall Speed there. He's all hype, does a backflip, but then when Messi scores 2 goals, he sent that motherfucker crying. Too bad his mommy wasn't there to fucking change his diaper. I'm about to get a lot of hate for that, but I don't give a fuck. And then Argentina and Jordan. Messi starts off on the bench, comes in as a substitute, scores his first goal as a 39-year-old for a free kick. Is there anything that this man can do? Messi is just, whatever he does in the pitch, he's just the GOAT for a reason. And once again, I don't care what you say. Hate me all you want. But I am a Messi fan. I'm loyal to him, especially as a Barcelona fan. That's why I hold on to this. Always. Anyways, getting a little sidetracked off, and that's kind of the rant for that moment. That's why we sing for these kids who don't have a thing. But anyways, on to the next group. Almost halfway there. We have made it to Group K, and I think this is the last team where... No, because Argentina only had 2 teams that are going through. But I did feel bad for Algeria, though. Oh, and if you have seen the Algeria and Austria match, Algeria were only a few minutes away from going through with the goal differential, but unfortunately, well, I don't think they still updated this yet, so just give me 1 sec. Yeah, and an unexpected twist here. So yeah, only 3 teams were going through. I know they said they're 2 teams, but Argentina, Austria, Algeria are going through, it looks like. But there's still the thing to go. As I mentioned before, if you've seen the Algeria on Austria match, Algeria were minutes away from topping up to 2nd place, but in the end, when they pulled off, Austria pulled up a last-minute goal header. Unbelievable. That was great. What a great way to end it there. Always gotta have a clutch moment. Alright, now that we got sidetracked there for a minute, moving on to Group K. Oh, this is gonna be one hell of a wild train ride, so buckle up, y'all. So, Colombia, Portugal, Congo, and Uzbekistan. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Uzbekistan, I know they weren't the greatest team, and they got completely demolished. From Colombia to Congo, and especially Portugal. So, Portugal and Congo. I gotta know, how the fuck did Portugal not beat Congo? And of course, they're blaming Messi fans, they're blaming Argentina fans, they're blaming FIFA, who is behind all this. Right, so, of course, FIFA organized this group, told them to tie with Congo, and told them to tie with Colombia, told them to fail. Is there any physical proof? Anything else you want to say? Or do you all just want to admit defeat? Like, you guys gotta have to admit defeat, because there's nothing you can say about this. But I honestly thought Portugal was going to place number 1, because if they placed number 1, they would have had to play against a little bit harder teams. Even they would have met Argentina in the quarterfinals. That would have been a potential. But the thing is, you say that Messi had easier teams, and Portugal, as I mentioned, they had an easier team too. And they say Portugal can beat South American teams, no problem. Even though, sure, I can agree with some European teams are good enough to play against South American teams, and either of them are not that good. But no, they got some surprises here. They pull off some surprises. Now, Portugal here, they just could not beat Congo. I don't get it. They tied 1-1. And then Colombia tied no goals. But they were lucky. Colombia almost got a goal, but ruled offside. Portugal so would have been a goner, would have tied for 2nd and 3rd with 4 points. But, however, they did win 5-0, and people say Ronaldo was back. He did score 2 goals and became the man of the match, but fortunately, he did not show himself up against Colombia. Neither of the players did. Couldn't even get a goal. However, the Portuguese keeper made an incredible save to save them, save Portugal from getting eliminated. Well, not really getting eliminated, but losing points. All right, on to the last and final group. As we head to the final group in Group L, we got England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Now, Panama, they got completely annihilated. There's no way they were going to beat Croatia, England, or even Ghana. However, Ghana did put up a pretty good fight there. And then, so England and Croatia. England defeats Croatia 4-2. I mean, what a start. Not too shabby for them. However, so England couldn't beat Ghana. They tied with them, even though, and then Croatia barely won. They barely beat Panama just by the 1 goal. And then they did beat Ghana recently with the 2-1 in a close clutch moment header. But they did manage to beat Ghana, even though they were close to drawing the game. Who would have thought that Ghana... I was right about the prediction, though. England, then Croatia, but I didn't know specifically who was going to place first or second. Ghana was third, but they went through. Now, since we're halfway there, it is time to announce, oh boy, the bracket. Alright, here we are. We have made it to the knockout bracket here. What a surprising twist here for some of the teams and for all those who have got to play who. So, first up, Germany and Paraguay on the first round of 32. Then you got France and Sweden. And on the other side, we got Canada and South Africa. And then you have the Netherlands and Morocco onto the other half. And on the other halves there for the rest of the round of 32, you got Portugal and Croatia. Now, I do want to point out one thing. If you are in Canada and you live in Toronto, that's where they're going to host on the 2nd of July. So I do want to give out a pointer, because I know that a lot of you are going to go crazy, and that could be your one and only chance to see Ronaldo play at the BMO Stadium. And I actually, as I mentioned, went to go see Messi play at the BMO Stadium, which was in September. Consider it my late birthday, but still. It was a good time. And if you all are interested and hoping to see that, I wish you all the best of luck. And this could be the last time that these two legendary players would ever play for any of your countries, especially in Canada, which is very rare. All right. And then we got España versus Austria. And then we got USA versus Bosnia. Now, Bosnia making it to the round of 32, which I want to send the... even Zlatan was in tears for this one, too, because for all those who were dealing with the war back in the 1992 and all those children who've lost their lives there, and even though Edin Dzeko was one of those players who could have died, but he was saved from his mother. And also proud for all the Bosnian players and all you Bosnian fans for making that far. I really hope the best of them and for all of you. And then there's Belgium versus Senegal. And on the other side, there's Brazil and Japan. And Coach d'Ivoire and Norway. Onto the other side of the bracket, Mexico versus Ecuador, England versus Congo, and oh boy, this is where everything is going to get a lot of backlash here. Argentina versus Capo Verde. So, that will be a match to watch and see how that goes. But even though if you all complain to all the Messi haters, Ronaldo fans, I still say, fuck you guys. And we'll see what happens. And then we got Australia versus Egypt, Switzerland versus Algeria, and lastly Colombia versus Ghana, which if Portugal have won that match, they would have taken first place and played against Ghana. And potentially, if they won, they could have gone against Switzerland and Algeria. And maybe they would have had Argentina in the quarterfinals, depending if they won it now or soon, but you never know. And then the round of 16 will be determined to see how these teams do in July. So, to all of you fans who are rooting for whatever team. Now, side note, what if Argentina and Portugal becomes a final match? That would break the internet and the whole world would just go crazy. Trust me, that would be the most explosive football moment to ever exist, and probably one of the most watched, and probability the probable the probability the I can't talk. Probably one of the most biggest matches of the century and of the year. If that was to happen, maybe I would support it, but who knows? So, with all the strong teams, you got strong teams like France, and then you got England, who looks pretty good, Netherlands, Spain, possibly. Now, if Portugal wants to get their shit on, they better get their shit together. And then you have the current champions, Argentina. Now, the question is, can Brazil redeem themselves? They are still the World Cup holders for the most World Cups, 5 World Cups for them. And then there's Germany as well. We never know what we could see from this World Cup. This is going to be probably one of the most, even though there's a lot of backlash going on there. But there's only one way to find out. And once again, the finals are going to host a very first halftime show, just like the Super Bowl. But let's find out how the teams do. And this could be probably one of the most intense World Cups you could ever have, and surprising teams going through. But anyway, guys, that's it for me for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, drop a like, subscribe to my channel for more videos, and I will eventually be back for more. So I will see you guys whenever I post my next videos, and my football videos will be coming up as soon as possible once I get more and more clips. So I'll see you guys then. Adios, buenas noches, good night.